when I was doing speed paintings a lot in a few years ago, I had this one night being always the protagonist of the speed paintings, and there was not really a story behind it, but I loved to paint this night, to have someone being there and telling a small story in each piece, even if it's not really a story, but having some character sit there and doing something is always helpful. So I ended up putting this night in a lot of pieces, and I thought, why not telling a more in-depth story about this specific night? And then I ended up naming him the unsung hero, and he was suddenly the main character of this Nachthunger project.
So please welcome Mr. Dominik Meyer. Hey, imagine just like
Yes.
huge auditorium clapping right now.
I hear it. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. I'm gonna start
Yeah,
out.
thanks for having me.
Welcome to the show, man. Thanks for joining us. So you have this project called Nachthunger. Am I pronouncing that right?
It's a German word called Nachthunger. So it started with me being interested in world building, and when I was still at university, I was pretty deep into world building in general, and I had a project. There was so much to be figured out first. I want to know exactly how this place is like made and like organized, and what the people all look like and everything. And I wanted to figure this out first before I wanted to start painting. And it was pretty annoying because I ended up being super stuck in all the writing and research and reading part, and I was really missing out on the painting part. So I thought, this project needs to be the opposite. Like, Nachthunger should be a world building project built by the images and not by reading and writing them so much. It's definitely something that is involved, and I read and write a lot out besides it, but I build the world based on the illustrations I do. And this is basically the idea. And so I don't know exactly what's going on in the future in the story of the unsung hero. It's more like, this is the new piece, and we will see what comes out of it. When I was doing speed paintings a lot in a few years ago, I had this one night being always the protagonist of the speed paintings, and there was not really a story behind it, but I loved to paint this night, to have someone being there and telling a small story in each piece, even if it's not really a story, but having some character sit there and doing something is always helpful. So I ended up putting this night in a lot of pieces, and I thought, why not telling a more in-depth story about this specific night? And then I ended up naming him the unsung hero, and he was suddenly the main character of this Nachthunger project.
So I get the sense that this is your happy place. It's your comfort zone. Is this like your palette cleanser in between or after projects where like, okay, I need time for myself. I'm just gonna let my brain go ham.
Yes, definitely. The problem is I need quite some time off to get back into it, because when I have a lot of jobs going on, client work, I have a hard time getting back into personal projects like Nachthunger. It's not that I'm not thinking about it or sketching here and there, but doing real paintings and being happy with those is, I usually need a bit more time and more time off to really get into it and feeling that experimental vibe and really think about out of the box and trying new things. And if you are stuck in a daily routine by doing a lot of client work, sometimes it's a bit hard to get this freedom going on in the painting, because you have a specific, what's called style guide or world in mind all the time, because you have this and this specific project for a client, and switching back and forth sometimes gets in the way of inspiration. So I like to focus on one thing, finish it, and then go to the other one. And if I have time, I usually love to go into personal projects, but at the moment I have a lot of client work, so personal projects are a bit behind. So I think the last Nachthunger painting I did is almost a year back. So yeah.
So
Yes.
I imagine Nachthunger would probably not be possible had you not found your first magic card in your parents' garden. Because I feel like that's the one that set you on this path right here, the butterfly effect. Like, I want to ask about that. That's really cool though. Like you found a card in your parents' garden. The way you phrased it, like was it like by the bushes? Like, oh, what's this? Was it glowing?
Exactly like this. It was not glowing, but it was like we were kids playing in whatever, I don't know what it was, but in the garden, and I was hiding in one of the bushes, and then there was this card sitting there. I think it was close to the edge of the property, so I guess someone lost it there, and it was, I don't know how it got there actually, but it was pretty dirty and broken up, and you couldn't really use it, but it was my first card, and I don't know. I somehow reminded myself of, this is actually my first contact with the game, and it was quite an adventure already. So yeah, pretty cool.
How old were you then? Like you were a kid, but
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It was really, I think in the 90s somewhere, or maybe early 2000s. I don't know. I had my first cards 2002, so it might be 2000, something like this. It was before I got my own cards, because I had no idea about the game itself when I found that specific card. So it needs to be some time before 2002, but I don't know exactly when it was.
Your first set is the Onslaught set, right? In 2002?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I got some cards gifted by my friends and started playing Magic around that time. And I bought my first cards in 2003, I guess, with Mirrodin.
But which was the trigger, or which was the one that pulled you towards making art? Was it that first crumpled up card, or was it your first set?
I mean, I was always inspired by fantasy and whatever, Lord of the Rings, castles, knights, elves, and whatever it was. So it doesn't really come from Magic itself. From the game, it's more like the whole topic has always been very interesting for me. Being a fan of the game since that early on, I was obviously dreaming about doing art for the game at some point. But I don't really know what was the trigger to create art in that direction. I don't remember a specific event or inspiration that triggered that. I don't know. I mean, even as a child, I always played with castles and knights instead of spaceships and robots or whatever. It's more, I was always drawn to that. I don't know why.
Oh, you're really more into the fantasy rather than the sci-fi fantasy, like Star Wars.
I enjoy both, but it's when I have to decide, I always gravitate to medieval stuff.
Like through osmosis, you were just like, you grew up in that space and you saw it, and
probably
it just became a part of you. That's so cool. How are you guys like there in Germany, like the culture when it comes to art? Because you took up illustration and 3D animation for college, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How did you end up taking that path? And was there resistance from your parents?
I'm lucky. My parents were very supportive. So I started studying history and Orientalism first, which was something completely different and very like scientific. And I just realized while I was studying that, I was drawing all the time, of course, and being into the like hobby art thing all the time, like from early on, from being a child. But I was never aware that this could be a job or anything. So I was always drawing for myself, and sitting there studying something completely different and very theoretical. I was realizing that I probably have to do something more practical, like something I can really do by hand, like drawing. And then I think it was in mid-20s or early 20s when I realized that being an artist is actually a career path. And then I saw that there's an opportunity in my town for studying design in general that was not focused on illustration or anything. It was more like design in general. And I decided to quit the other studies and switch over to design. And my parents were just, okay, yeah, sure, do it.
Oh, wow.
this was obviously very helpful and motivating. So I tried applying to that school because you have to submit some work, and then if you got into if these works were accepted, they have to do like a test. And if you pass that test, you are allowed to start studying there. And this was pretty intimidating, of course. And I was also not accepted at first try. So I tried again, and second time it worked. And then I studied 3D and illustration, yeah. It was more like based on film and animation. And I transitioned during my time there more and more into illustration. Not even illustration, more like concept art, like production art for movies and games. That was more like my orientation in that point. And the illustration part was not that important at that time. And I transitioned from concept art into illustration during my professional career afterwards. Then. So in the beginning, it was all about games and movies and concept art.
Yeah, your first in-house job as an artist was actually as an intern for a mobile game company in Germany, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You did your homework.
Of course I did. I always do it for everyone. But what I found interesting was you started as an intern and then you worked your way into a full-time artist. How was life as an in-house artist first? How'd you get there?
The internship was during my studies, so it was like a thing we had to do. Part of the whole thing is just one semester we have to go somewhere and work there as an intern and then come back and finish the studies. And so I was searching for something that's not so far away. I could like in Germany. I wasn't really into going somewhere else, like abroad or something. So I was accepted at that game company, which was I was super lucky because at that time they were hiring a lot of people, a lot of really, really good people. Being able to work with such high tier artists was really a pivoting point, I think, because I learned a lot in that half a year, I think 6 months of internship. And yeah, it was just amazing. We had a lot of time to explore. We had some projects, so I could learn about being part of a team. I could learn about experimenting, being like surrounded by artists from all over the world was also really cool because in our university it was all like I think it was the horizon was not that big. Like people from around the city were studying there. It was not like we had people from all around the world. It was all in German. It was all about that region. It was being part of an international team then in Hamburg in game company was something else, something new. And yeah, I really enjoyed that, and I think I learned a lot there. And then coming back to the university, that felt actually quite downscaling again from this wide horizon about people having so many different stories and so many different talents and everything. Then you come back to the university, which was always great, and I loved it there, but then you had the eager feeling of, oh, I need to get out there again. I need to finish this here and then get out there again. So yeah, I did that. Finished it as quick as possible and then went out to work somewhere else, which was in Munich then.
Yeah, in Munich, Germany. And you were a 2D, 3D generalist and concept artist.
It's actually like I was more interested in movie and animation before I started this internship in Hamburg. It was this internship that gave me the perspective on being a concept artist is something that you can do. I wasn't really sure if I want to do that, and I treated this internship more like a test. Like if I liked it after 6 months, I still like it, then it might be a good idea to focus more on it. And I really liked it, and I thought, okay, this is interesting, and this is more interesting even than being a 3D artist for animation, which was before that more the career path I've chosen. So I needed to choose between those two. But when I was finishing up my studies, I landed this job in Munich, and this was supposed to be a more concept art heavy job, but it ended up being more 3D and production art visualization for clients like cars and stuff, shows. And I didn't enjoy that much, so I decided to focus more on my art as a freelancer side by side, like going back to freelancing work after work, being full time at this Munich place and getting back home afterwards and doing some freelance work afterwards. But this was obviously quite time intense and hard to pull. So I decided, okay, I need to somehow quit that job to make more space for the freelancing, because I had some gigs lining up and I wasn't able to take them because it was too much work for after work time. So I decided, okay, I need to maybe do a half-time job somewhere else and spend one half of the week in house and one half the other half freelancing. And that went quite well. And after half a year being a graphic designer at a ad agency after Munich, I decided, okay, the same situation appeared as well. Again, like I have this half a week in-house work, and it was somehow blocking opportunities for bigger freelance work. So I always had to turn down some bigger inquiries, and I thought, okay, I'm here again, not having enough time for my freelancing. Maybe I should try full-time freelance and see if how that turns out. So I quit that ad agency job again, tried full-time freelance, and it worked out, which was really cool. It was a bit of it was not hard to decide going full-time freelance, but obviously there are a lot of risks, and you think about, is that a good idea? But I had a really, really good boss at this time, like the guy from the ad agency. He said, okay, I was there as well when I started this agency, and just try it. If it works, perfect. If it doesn't work, just go back. And
that's nice.
This was super nice and encouraging, and luckily I didn't have to come back.
Yeah, usually, it's so nice. So
it's really nice.
So that was
I was really lucky. Yeah. I heard
that
a lot
was
of
your
stories
metric
from other people. Yeah.
Oh,
Which are
okay.
not, like people, which as you already hinted on, not every artist has the support by the family or by friends or people they need to fight against a lot of obstacles to become an artist. And I think this is important that you know that this is very, very helpful to get support from your loved ones and from your family and from colleagues, and being aware of that is really important. So if you get that support, then appreciate it.
That's a nice side of the story. Like, I've interviewed some artists where they had to fight for it from their families. Like Forrest ML, if you've heard of them. Yeah. I interviewed him, and he didn't go to college, so he was like, I don't see the point of going to college. Then he told his parents, like, just give me a year to prove it I can earn. If not, I'll go to college. So, but they were against it at first because they were looking out for him.
Yeah.
So it's different, but it's nice hearing that other side of the coin from you. I wanted to ask, during that time, because you had a metric going on, like you said that your part-time job in advertising was getting in the way of freelance gigs.
Yes.
Because by that time you were getting those gigs right at your door, right? They were looking for you. You weren't looking for them, right?
Yes. It was basically being active on social media was, I think, the thing that led to these inquiries. They asked me because a lot of people in that time searched for something quick and dynamic, and I was doing these speed paintings. So I got a lot of people asked if they could have something like that for their game or their show or whatever. Yeah. I think I was lucky to put out stuff that was really interesting for people at that time. And I think it was mainly ArtStation at that time. And Facebook. There was this Facebook group called Daily Spit Paint. I think it's still out there. And
I've heard of that.
they put on daily topics, like 4 or 5 topics, and you can just pick one and then paint a 30-minute speed painting based on those prompts, and then you post it there. And that was a daily routine for me, just putting out a 30-minute painting, and people liked the dynamic and the stylization of those, because of the limited time I really needed to focus on like shapes that are easy to read, and I always like to have some motion in there, so I try to combine those two aspects, and this is something that people received quite well at that time.
I hope you whippersnappers watching there are taking notes. Because some people, they commonly ask, like, how do you get yourself out there? How do you get the gigs? You gotta post your stuff, especially if you're like starting out. You gotta make yourself known. Of course, you gotta put up quality work, not just pump out something that you half-assed. You gotta put the quality in. And on the topic of like freelancing, what were some of the challenges you faced early on? You were like, oh, this is how it is. Like I didn't know, like I didn't expect it to be like this.
I think one of the first things I needed to learn is that if you are in contact with people, it doesn't always mean it's getting to happen. Like if you get an email and people ask you, hey, are you available for this? And then you said, yeah, of course I'm available. That sounds awesome. And then nothing happens. That is something you need to learn, because you get excited and then you think this is something you will work on, and then it's not, because people are not even replying again. And yeah, this is something that happens quite a lot, especially in the movie game industry, I would say. And yeah, you have to be
sorry
aware
for laughing, because what you said is so spot on with some of our Brushpoint people here in the community. Where they're in contact, they've been in contact for like more than 3 months. And like, wow, this application is so long. How many tests are they making you do? He's done like 3. What you said right there, it happens to you too as well, all the way from Germany. We're so far apart, but also the problem is the same.
Yeah, the problem is out there. I think it's people are testing out, which like on the company side, they are searching for people. They get out their fingers and say, okay, this is an artist we could work with, and this is one. And then in the end, maybe they end up hiring the other one and not you, and then they even don't tell you sometimes. It doesn't.
Dude, they ghost you.
Yeah, not on purpose maybe, but it's like, okay, they made up their mind. It was like, okay, we ended up working with the other one. And in the beginning, if you don't know, you're waiting for a response, and this might be or was hard at sometimes, because you were not aware of how this works, and then you have expectations and everything. So learning that is important, that you don't attach yourself too much in the beginning of a conversation. And if you're there and getting the brief, getting the work, start sketching, then it starts, and then it's good. But before that, I would always be like, okay, let's see if this happens. If not, okay. I think this is the main thing. And in the end, it was pretty straightforward, the job itself. Like I didn't have any major problems or things I needed to learn on the hard way or anything. It was more like, okay, if I started a job, I usually try to do my best, and that turned out to be a good way of doing it. Like people were happy, and yeah. Problem maybe is pricing. This is maybe something you need to learn in the beginning. Like you don't know what to charge. You don't know what to charge in your country, because a lot of times you get American prices in those lists. Like, okay, if you're an LA-based artist, you can charge this and that. And you think, okay, if I charge that, nobody will hire me, because here in Germany or whatever, we don't have the industry paying those prices, for example. And then you need to learn and need to figure out what you can charge. And this is an experimental thing again. Like I was trying just, okay, rising the prices here and there from year to year, and say, okay, next time I will charge a bit more. and or treating it like a game. When I get a new request, I put in a bit more like the job before, and I see how the people reacted to it. And if it was like, okay, fine, let's do it, and I thought, damn it, I could probably have asked for more. And then I save that and do it next time. Basically raising it again and see what's possible, and then talk to other people and being aware of the whole infrastructure, the whole industry, get information from other artists and from other companies, and ask it what's possible for them and where they're living and everything, like information as much as you can. Then you can build up your own business based on that. And I think this is a learning process. Even now, there's no, I have figured it all out. It's still a learning process. It's still, people want something from you haven't done yet, like licensing for painting you have done years ago, and then they ask you, hey, can we use it for a book? And I've never done that before. What should I do? Then you have to ask again, for example. And these things always happen again and again. And I think this is one thing people have to learn, that you have to ask. If you don't know something, ask people you think they who knows, and nobody usually is don't telling you things. People are usually helpful and glad if they can help. That's at least my experience. And if you want something or want something to know, I think searching for people who know is the best and direct way, and then you can adjust your process afterwards with the new information. I don't know if that is the answer to your question, but this is I think one of the most important things.
Yeah.
Because you cannot figure it out on your own, because you don't have the information, so you need to get it somewhere else.
How often do you unplug? Do you make it mandatory for yourself to like detox from the screen?
Yeah, I try to start the day with a nice cup of coffee and a sketchbook, just to not get up and go right in front of the screen. I tend to do that, and it's definitely better to start thinking about what's going on at that day, or about the projects you are working on, and in a more traditional environment, I would say, without the screens. And I just love doing some first sketches and thoughts in the sketchbook while sitting somewhere, not at my desk, maybe in a cafe or something, and just getting a few thoughts on the paper, on the real paper. I didn't have a sketchbook for a lot of years, and I just started, I think, 1.5 years ago to do sketches traditionally in the sketchbook, and since then I would never go back, because I just get better ideas. I have the more focused mindset, and then if you had the idea, if you know which direction you want to go for, then I go to the computer and I start there. That's at least what I'm doing right now. I used to try to keep it as free as possible, and if I feel this and that works best for me, I just try to force myself to do it more, and then see what's coming out of it. So unplugging is at the moment definitely something I force myself to do. Yeah.
Okay. Well, as long as you don't stress yourself out, because once again, you said earlier, art should be stressful.
That's the best, yeah. But sometimes you need to put in a bit of force to make yourself do the stuff you want.
Just to hammer yourself in there. A little discipline. Yeah. And I think that's a nice way to wrap it up, that interview portion. And with that, our interview segment now comes to a close, and now begins the critique session. So we have two Brushpoint members who have submitted works for you to critique.
If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much. But if you're still looking for more ways you can learn, just head on down to our website at brushpoint.io, where you can watch behind the scenes of this video, watch our live interviews and artist interviews a week earlier, art processes, tutorials, art talks, and lives every single Friday, and even a way to join our Discord community. Just check out that website. Well, that's it. If you want to share this knowledge, well, share with your friends. like the video, and of course, subscribe if you want more content like this. Thanks again, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.